everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make this little loom flower. You use a loom like this, and this is what you get. To make a flower on the loom, you are going to need the following. Basically, the first thing you're going to need, obviously, is the loom. Now, this is about 3 inches across from peg to peg, and it was just labeled as flower loom. But you could easily make one of these yourself with, some scrap wood and some nails, really. So, yeah. Then you're going to need your yarn that you're going to use for the main color, and then you'll need a little bit of yarn to secure the middle. Now, you can use the same color, or you can use a contrasting color like I've got here. You'll need a needle, a tapestry needle. Mine came with the loom, but you can buy these. You can use the metal ones if you prefer those. And then this is the tool that came with it as well. You can buy this separately if you make your own loom. And basically it just looks like a little pick. Basically it just looks like a little pick. There you go. And it has the like a little piece of plastic over to keep you from accidentally stabbing yourself, I guess. All right. These are really simple, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so you're going to take your yarn and you're going to leave a little bit of a tail, so like 6 to 8 inches, and at that point you're going to wrap it around the peg on the side a couple of times, okay? And that just secures it in the very beginning so it's not like hanging out all over the place. Okay, and then you're basically going to put the yarn right there in the center. So it's like that. You're going to wrap around the peg that way. You're going to come down to this peg to the right of your starting yarn. You're going to put it around that way. And you're going to go straight across to this peg here. And then you're basically just going to continue to wrap all the way around. Okay, and now if this were all the way wrapped around, I would have one on every peg. Okay, and what I do at this point is just slide it down a little bit. Now when you are wrapping it around, don't pull super tight, otherwise you're going to have a really big problem. But just, wrap securely, but not like, you're trying to break the yarn. Alright, and so there you go. That's the last one. And so you can see it came up, in case you lose your place, you can see where the yarn came from. And then we're just going to go to the one to the left of that. And just all the way around again. Okay, and now I have 2 on every peg. And again, we're going to push it down just a little bit. And we're going to continue to go around again. You can technically go around as many times as you want. I think if you do more than like 3 or 4, it tends to look, I don't know, maybe not the best. Okay, so again, be careful not to get your yarn hooked up or wrapped up in there like I just did. Okay. Now you can see, like, I got ready to start to go back on this one, but this one already has 3. Okay? And that one has 3. So, we are done now with that part. Okay, you're going to take some scissors. You're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut, but you're going to leave a tail. So about 8 inches is good. And just cut that. And then you're going to thread that through the needle. So See, this is what this looks like. It looks almost like, what are those spiral graph things or whatever you'd used to do like when you were a kid? Anyway, alright, so you're going to take this needle and you're going to drop it right down through the middle. So you can see there's a hole right there. And you can see there's a piece of a yarn that goes straight. Oh, let's see. See, I'm moving it. That's actually this piece right here. So anyway, just go through making sure that that last petal is still on. And you just put it right through the middle of the hole. Okay, and leave it basically like that. And then you can go ahead and loosen this one up and pull it through. So it's this one here. Okay. And then we're just going to tie this in a knot. Try to make sure that the knot is in the middle. Okay. If it slides around on you like mine just did, it's not a big deal. You can just sort of wiggle it up and move it. Okay. It doesn't have to be perfectly center. You can move this a little bit after it's done. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and do the middle part, and that's going to secure the petals in place. You're going to go ahead and thread your contrasting color or just a separate piece of the existing color. And then what we're going to do, you're going to leave about you know, like a 6-inch or so tail. Basically, the reason you're leaving these long ends is because you have to tie them all together. So, okay. So, this is what we got going on right now. And so, you're going to take this. Was that in frame? Anyway, so this is what's going on right now. You're going to take your needle and you're going to put it in the space between the pegs and between the petals. Okay? So, right there. So, you're going to come up from behind. Like this. So you can see I'm in between the petals. I'm going to come up behind. And I'll let a little bit hang down. So that way you have something to secure to the end. If you need to, you can hold on to it to the side. That's usually what I do, is just hold on to it while I'm doing this the first couple. Alright, and so you can see that the yarn is there in between the pegs, but it's not really touching any of the flower color yarn. Now we're going to take it right across, so basically between those pegs, and down through that. So if you consider this is the petal, okay, so like if this were the petal, we're not going in the petal, we're going in between the petals, and you want to go right across, straight down in there. Don't let it get caught on the loop, or the peg, I mean. Okay. Now this first one, you'll be able to sort of pull tight, but you won't be able to get it really tight until you get the next one done. So, and then we're going to come up from underneath and between the petals there to the right from where you started, because we started at the peg. So we're just moving our way around, we're moving around the same way that we sort of did when we were making the petals themselves. Then we go across. And this is when you start to pull tight. Okay. And you're going to do this for all the spaces in between the petals. And remember to pull tight. And if you forget where you're going, you can obviously tell where your yarn is coming from, but you can also, if you look right through there, you can see that there's yarn there where there's none there. See? Okay, and then go right opposite of where you were just at. Now if you want to look underneath, just make sure that you are seeing where my knot is sort of similar right there. If you want to, you can make sure that you go in between it, so that way it's like that. It just adds a little bit of security for the next one, but you don't have to. And if it gets caught, just sort of pull it like that. Alright. And just continue to do that all the way around. Remember to pull tight. Okay, now just double check and make sure that you've done all of them. So you can pull on that little end and it'll tighten up. And I can see that I have. You can usually tell by basically how it looks right there, but you can always look. Alright, and now we're actually, you can see like the petals are a little bit more defined. Each set of loops are more defined. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go up through the middle of the petal itself and do the same thing, like go so up through the petal and across to the opposite petal. So that's where I'm coming from, right there, okay? And so you're just going to go opposite and up through the petal. And see, I caught a little bit of that yarn, of that, the tails that are hanging down at the bottom. And if you do that, just pull on them. Right, and then down through there. I'll have to remember that I started here, so you should be able to tell, but you know, if you need to mark it for whatever reason, go ahead and do that. Or you can just start in a different one. That's fine too. See? And you can usually tell if it's been in there if you just look underneath. And again, pull tight. And so you can sort of see this one has a little V through it, but this one, the yarn meets itself, so that's how you know where to go. Okay. And you can see that's pretty secure. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll tie a knot in this contrasting yarn. It's kind of hard to do down in there, but you just sort of have to like just make it work. And now you've actually made your flower. It's ready to go. See, this is actually, I had a little bit too much, but depending on what you're putting this flower on, you may like having that extra to actually secure it to, like if you're putting it on a headband or something like that. All right, and now you can do this with your fingers if you want, but I actually do like to use the tool that they give you. And you're just going to slide them off. Once you get the first couple off, the rest are pretty easy to do. Make sure you get all 3. And see, and then basically at one point it'll just fall out. Okay, and there you go. See, and it's like a loopy flower. And there, you can actually make these. You don't really have to have a loom, I don't think, to make these if you know, are nimble or you just use whatever you have laying around. But it makes it really cute. And you can use all different colors. And I just think that they're adorable. All right, well, that's all I've got to show for you today. I hope you guys are having a great one. Talk to you all next time. Bye.